So what I'm going to do is try to give you the 25-minute MBA. What I'm going to introduce is basically the foundational structure that every business runs on. I don't care whether you are a sole proprietor at home or General Motors. They all work on this basic model, and I call it the why you profit model. And it's shaped like a Y because essentially your business comes from one of two threads. Right? You're going to get new business from customers you've never dealt with before, or customers coming back to you from the past. Makes sense, right? Now, each of those sets of customers behave differently. And so there's different tactics that you're going to use to interact with them. So if you look on, so the first is new leads. So you're going to exercise some tactics that are going to generate you leads. But is a lead a customer? Hello? No. You need to do some things to make them a customer. So those things are called conversion strategies. But then you still don't know how much money you're making yet because you need to understand how much they spend on you each time they buy from you. That's called your average dollar sale or your sale per transaction. Those three numbers together are what generate your revenue from new customers or new prospects, which means there are three sets of tactics that you need to be paying attention to generate the revenue. Now, you also have people who've dealt with you in the past. So it's the same thing. You've got repeat lead generation. The fact that they've dealt with you in the past doesn't mean that they're just automatically going to come running back to you, right? You need to communicate with them somehow to get them to do so. Similarly, you have to get them to convert. Now, just because someone has dealt with you in the past doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy from you. You still have to do things to convert them. Now, generally speaking, the conversion rate from repeat customers will be different from your conversion rate from new prospects, which is why you want to measure them differently. Then you're going to have your average dollar sale from each of them. So those 6 numbers together are what give you revenue. So those 6 numbers, when people talk about marketing, I got to get better at my marketing, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about those 6 numbers. The problem is most people don't pay attention to those 6 numbers. They think marketing is a single activity. It isn't. It's 6. And if you don't know which of those numbers you're trying to influence with a given tactic, how do you know whether it's working or not? You need to say, well, this one is about improving my conversion rate from past customers. Well, measure it and then see whether it worked or not. I always find it funny. I used to be in the new media space, so people say, I want to build a website. Why? Because I want to grow my business. Well, what's the website meant to do? Well, what do you mean? I mean, what's it meant to? Is it to generate leads? Is it to convert leads? Is it to get past customers to come back? Well, I don't know. Then how are you going to know whether it works? So you got to get very specific on your tactics. Now, revenue. Are we in the game of making revenue? Yes? What are we in the game of making? Profit. Is revenue profit? No. How many businesses do you know that make a lot of revenue and no profit? Quite a lot. Right? So this isn't enough yet. So your revenue times your gross profit, your gross margin rather, is what produces your gross profit. Your gross margin is your gross profit expressed as a percentage. So to make that clear, if you don't know, if you sell t-shirts at $10 and you buy the t-shirt from the supplier at $5, that means you have a $5 gross profit, which means you have a 50% gross margin. Make sense? So your revenue times your gross margin gives you your gross profit, but is that all your costs? You still have rent and salary and insurance and marketing costs and all that stuff. So that's called overhead. So your gross profit minus your overhead is what equals your net profit. Those 8 numbers are the universe of profitability. There is nothing that drives profit that cannot be influenced outside those 8 numbers. That's it. So if you want to grow your business, you have to know how you're doing on those 8 numbers. If you don't, anything you do, if it doesn't influence one of those 8 numbers, will not improve your profit. So you need to measure those numbers to see how you're doing. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to throw up some numbers in here so you can see how powerful this is. So we're going to talk with a standard web shop. So they get 50 leads a year, and their conversion rate is 45%, and their average dollar sale is about $10,000. Now, this company actually does fairly well. They have a higher repeat lead generation. So their repeats are 65. Their conversion rate is 60%. So their conversion rate on their repeat is higher as well. So this tends to be a company you think, okay, these guys service their customers well because they keep coming back. Their average dollar sale is $15,000 on their repeat. So again, the people pay more money when they come back. So this is a company that you can see, well, once they get somebody in the door, they're doing well. So their revenue is $810,000. Their gross margin is 55%, so their net or their gross profit is $445,000. Overhead is $300,000. They got to pay salaries, rent, insurance, all that kind of stuff, for a net profit of $145,000. Now this is where it gets interesting. And this is like nothing up this sleeve, nothing up this sleeve. With just a 7% increase in each of these numbers. That's very, very small. Watch what happens to that bottom profit number. So they were 50, so now they're doing 53 and a half. That is 3.5 more leads over the entire year. How tough do you think that is to create? Not very difficult, right? These are small increases. Their conversion rate now is 48.2% from 45. That's a 3.2% increase. Now, their average dollar sale went up to $10,700. Again, that's just a $700 increase, not big. Their repeat went to 69.5. Conversion rate went from 60% to 64%. By the way, in terms of repeat lead generation, how many of you believe that your customers know everything you do, everything you offer? No? What do you think a really good repeat lead generation strategy might be? Tell them everything you do. They're more likely to come to you instead of somebody else. This is how simple growing a business can be. Tell people what you do, and they will buy it from you. Their average dollar sale now goes to $16,050, so their revenue is now $990,000. Their gross margin, so they just got a little bit more efficient, got into a buyer's club maybe, pressed their suppliers for some better deals. It's now at 58.9%. Their gross profit is now $583,000. Now in this model, I have assumed that the overhead goes up as well, because you maybe had to bring in a new employee, maybe you had to pay for some marketing, so it's gone up to $321,000. Now the net profit is $262,000. That is more than an 80% increase in profitability. 80% by just little itty bitty 7% increases. But that can only happen if you know what the numbers are and how to influence them. Now, what most people do is they say, oh, I'm going to grow my business. I got to get better at, quote, marketing, which they actually mean lead generation. If you want to grow your business by 80% in profitability by focusing on lead generation, holy crap, you better be good. And that is hard, but in this, you just have to get a little bit better in each one. So which do you think is going to get you there faster? Being a rock star better than most people on the planet in one discipline, or getting just a little bit better in 8? Probably the second, right? And that's how you grow a business. Now, in order to do this, you need to do some measurement. So the first thing you do is each of those 8 numbers, you measure them. Then you evaluate them. You can't fix all of them at once. You're going to say, this one's maybe not as good as I thought. And here's my experience. Most people, conversion rate is the one everybody overestimates. Everybody thinks they are great salespeople until they actually measure their numbers. And then they think, oh, a number of times somebody said, I said, what's your conversion rate? Oh, 60, 70%. Measure it, 20, 30. And now that's actually good news. If you're making money at a 20 to 30% conversion rate, what's going to happen when you get it to 40 or 50? So you focus on those things. So you evaluate, you benchmark the number, and then you test. You test different things. I had a client who was a moving company, sent out 500 letters every week, but we did 400 that were a standard, 100 that were a test. So we changed colors of the envelope, we put cartoons on the back, changed the headline inside, changed the font, changed the offer. Every time one outperformed the standard by 2 times, two sequences, that became the new standard. Very, very simple. Test, measure, evaluate, replace. That's how you start to grow. Now, the next piece of the 25-minute MBA is those are the 8 numbers. Great. What are the levers you can pull to start influencing those numbers? That's the next question. You got to think, okay, what can I actually do? So I use the model of a flower because it has to grow, all pieces of it have to grow together. You don't necessarily have to work on them all at the same time, but if you only work on one, the flower is going to get lopsided and fall over. So we start in the middle. The goal is profit. Now, I said at the beginning that this is about helping people make the world a better place too, so I just want to be clear on this. I talk in this talk about profit, but profit is the vehicle by which you can have an impact on the world. If your business is not profitable, it can't grow. If you're someone who wants to help people, serve the world, make a positive impact through your product or service, It will be minimized if you're not producing profit. If you are producing profit, you can grow and have those impacts. So the first thing on this is your product itself. If you are producing something, think about, am I offering everything I can to maximize my offering to my clients? You can offer warranties, you can offer additional services, you can offer attachments. What are the other things that your customers might need that are within your mission and vision that will increase your sales? And then there's promotion. So you got a product, but now you got to promote it. That's the stuff we normally think of as marketing. That's marketing and sales and the tracking of that. Now, if you are like most business owners I meet, you are probably using roughly 3 different marketing tactics to generate your business. The problem with that is, you see that tripod right there? It's got 3 legs on it. If I kick out one of those legs, what happens? Falls over, right? That's what happens to your business if you're only using 3 marketing tactics and one of them stops working. What you want to do is diversify your marketing. I call it 10 and then, because you want to get to 10 and then make decisions about which ones are working or not. Do not tomorrow go out and start doing 10 marketing tactics. You'll blow your brains out. You want to build up to 10 different marketing tactics, evaluate the results, find out which ones are working and which ones aren't. If there are some that are not working, replace them with others. If you do that, you then have a 10-legged table. If you knock out 4 of those legs, that puppy is still going to stand. And that's your business. So when you have diversified marketing, your business will always be on a stable platform. Then there's your process. Ultimately, you want to have, at the end of the day, this is all about quality of life, right? Everybody got into business for themselves because they think it's going to be a vehicle to make their life better. If you are attached to your business every day and you can never leave, it's hard to get maximum quality of life. So if you don't want the business to rely on you all the time, you got to have some systems in place so you don't have to go in and fix things all the time. And then you're going to need people to run those processes. So that's your recruitment, your induction, your training, your compensation, your culture. There's an old saying that, I don't know if you've heard it, but culture eats strategy. Then there's personal growth. And this is a magic rule. Your business will grow to the extent you do. If you don't work on you, your revenue isn't going to grow. What I personally, every time my revenue plateaus, the first place I look is the mirror. Not at the economy, not at competition, none of those things. It's me. And when you start to work on yourself, I had a client, we did a marketing tactic for him, generated a whole bunch of business cards. I came in the next week and I said, so how'd it go with a follow-up? Oh, I got busy, got hard. And I went, all right, what do you think about salespeople? Guess what he says? Salespeople are slimy, manipulative, pushy. Right. How does that help you with your business development? Right. So when you have in your head that sales is a manipulative, pushy, slimy activity, if you're a good person who wants to make the world a better place, are you going to engage in an activity that's slimy, pushy, and manipulative? No, you're going to stay away from it. So that mindset thing is actively holding you back. So we got him around. My definition of sales is professionally helping people solve problems. And if that's what you're doing, then sales is a noble activity. It is professionally helping people to solve problems. Who doesn't want to do that? And when you get that in your head, he went, oh, all right. He went out and sold $120,000 worth of business in about 2 weeks. Just because his mindset shifted. Now, before I get to the last mistake, all those things, there's about 340 different tactics in there and multiple versions of each one. So then you think, okay, that's a lot of stuff. How do I choose? What most people do is this. They play pin the tail on the donkey. I'll try that. Right? And pin the tail on the donkey is a really fun kids game. It sucks as a business strategy. You need to do something a little bit more disciplined than that. And so that takes us to the second killer mistake. Poor or no planning. Who has a written plan for their business? How many of you look at the written plan you have for your business? Awesome, not that many. Now, when I talk about planning, for those who think planning is a very daunting exercise, I am not talking about the big fat binder thing that the bank has you do with 5 years of projections. That, if you need to do that in order to get a loan from the bank, fine, do it. Otherwise, it's a waste of your bloody time because you will never look at it. What you want to do is set a 1-year strategic plan and then build in 90-day tactical plans. 90-day tactical plans that tell you what you are going to do actively every week of that quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, evaluate how you did. And then set your next 90-day plan so you're doing course corrections all the time. When you do that, you will accelerate your growth. And when you set your 90-day plan, if you haven't done it before, this is what everybody does. They front-end load their strategic plan and try to do everything in quarter one. And then they get depressed that they didn't get it all done. Don't do that. What you want to do is set 2 significant targets every quarter. And if you do that, then you will have made 8 significant improvements over a year. You find me businesses that have done 8 significant improvements over a year. There aren't that many. And it's because they're always front-end loading and failing. They get everything to the 20-yard line, but nothing gets complete. If you do it this way, you will always make progress and you will always succeed. Set yourself up for success, not for failure. So that is the last piece on the flower, is engaging in regular planning. And then on the bottom of this is principles. That's a whole other conversation, but it's an important one. If you want to have a quality of life, if you want to love your business, love your life, make sure your business is aligned with your own values. Where most people go off when they're miserable in business, it's because somehow their activities are misaligned with what they know to be true and right. And if you are misaligned with what's true and right, you will be unhappy. I don't care how much money you make. But when you run your business aligned with your values, then it doesn't matter how much money you make. It becomes fun. Now, you ready for the last mistake? Let's see. Everybody put one hand in the air as high as you can. All right? Now put it 2 inches higher. Was anybody not able to put their hand 2 inches higher? What was the instruction? Did you? No. Right. Why is that? Because you don't have any accountability. What happened? As soon as I said put it 2 inches higher, what did everybody do? You put it 2 inches higher. You did what you were told. When you are an entrepreneur, you're on your own. How many of you right now, if I said, can you come up with 3 things you know you could be doing right now that would make your business better, how many of you could come up with 3 easily? Right? Why aren't you doing them? If you know that they're going to make your business better, why aren't you doing them? Right. You're lazy, you're afraid, you don't know what to do. When you have someone to hold you accountable, it will accelerate your success. It's one of the key distinctions between really successful entrepreneurs and people who are struggling, is having someone to hold them accountable. I've got a buddy, we meet every single month. I'm the coach. You think I want to go into that meeting not having done what I said I was going to do? No way. It really accelerates my activity. So find some way to have someone to hold you accountable. Now, here's the danger when you get a buddy to get you to hold you accountable. You know, how'd you do on your stuff? Well, I missed out on a few things. But you did too. So how hard are you going to hold the other person? You're going to let them off the hook a little bit, aren't you? Of his growth. So Make sure you have that level of accountability. And here's the thing. You're all smart. I know that about you as entrepreneurs. But here's this is a rule that nobody tells you. Smart people don't tell themselves stupid lies. So as I'm saying there's these 3 things you know you should be doing, in the back of your head, you're coming up with all the checkmark reasons why you haven't done them. And if you sit down with your best friend and say, you know, this is why I didn't do that, they're going to go, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Right? That's a really good reason. That's what we call excuses as adults. Reasons. The reason I didn't deliver the project was, the reason I didn't do the follow-up call, the reason I didn't start that marketing, the reason I didn't go and take the free tool. We always have reasons. But here's the rule. You can have reasons or you can have results. Notice I cannot occupy those 2 spaces at the same time. If you want reasons, you are forsaking results. If you want results, you got to give up your reasons. And an accountability relationship will ensure that you stop relying on your reasons and start producing results. So that's basically it. That's your 25-minute MBA. Your real obstacles are, I don't know what to do, I can't decide how to do it or in what priority, or I don't like to do it and I lack the discipline to get it done. The way to overcome it is to keep learning. Never, ever stop learning. There is more stuff to know in business than you will ever learn in your lifetime. Never think you've learned it all. Plan your actions, and then work your plan, right? Even if you make a mistake in your plan, you'll know and you'll improve next time. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Plan your actions and then be willing to hold yourself accountable. So that's essentially my piece. I just want to leave you with one last thought. It's one of my favorite quotes. It said, when you were born, You cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. Thank you very much.